What's up, y'all? Hope we're doing well. Okay, so occasionally I'll get asked, like, hey, I'm just starting out, or I'm not just starting out, but I have all the tools necessary. I know how to mix. I know how to make music. I know how to produce. I can do all of it. Like, but how can I break in? Why am I not getting hired? How can I capture the attention? How can I capture the hearts of America or wherever the hell else you are making records? How can I make it and break into this industry? And it's challenging, man. I don't claim to have the concrete answers. And, if you see a lot of these guys who have the pinnacle guide, the framework for getting clients, nailing jobs, it's just like, it doesn't work like that. It's unique to everybody because everybody is unique. Everybody brings something special to the table. Everybody has a different superpower. And frankly, it's just, there's not a one size fits all, right? But the all-encompassing advice is we want to find a way to stand out above the crowd. If you know, you know. What a jam. Stand out, present your edge, and really use your superpower to break through the noise, right? My superpower, which was more like a curse for half my life. It got me in trouble with a lot of teachers. I got kicked out of school many times for running my mouth, talking, lacking boundaries, not knowing the right time or place to be talking, always wanting to be entertaining and having fun, being the class clown. Things like this that, were a problem with authority figures at that time. This ended up becoming, a lot of what my gift is now. And it helps me communicate with artists, and it helps me along the process, to make the process of making records fun. And it's, I get to bring my personality into this job, and I love it. And it certainly helped me make very, very bold moves to stand out. A few of those moves, rewinding way back, convincing my freaking wife to go out on a date with me and then marry me. Like, I shot way out of my league, dude, and somehow convinced her to do it. There's something about, gaining trust and convincing somebody to just give you a shot, get that cup of coffee with you. Living back in Minneapolis, I was a young kid, didn't know what I was doing, barely knew how to make records or mix, but I walked into one of the colleges and convinced them to hire me to teach mixing and audio classes because I really needed the gig. I wanted the gig. And it turns out that getting the gig, because I just walked in there and asked for it, getting the gig was part of what helped me learn how to do it. By learning to teach, I learned how to do it, right? Fast forwarding to coming out to LA, I was not getting hired anywhere. I wanted to be an intern, a runner. I wanted to start assisting on sessions. I wanted to get hired by a studio or by anybody, and nobody was hiring at this time. 2017, it was hot and heavy here and very, very loaded with people trying to do what I was trying to do. So nothing worked, so I opened up the back of my Jeep and I filled it from floor to ceiling, stacked tall, about 22 different boxes of donuts. Donuts in very brightly colored pink boxes. And right on top, a full color resume taped to the top of the donut box. I went to every studio, did a little research on who was the manager of each studio. I buzzed in, I said, hey, I have a package for Jillian. Could I come in? And I would hand them the donuts with the resume right on top. I got laughed out the door, but who cares? I didn't mind. I was out there, I was grinding, I was doing whatever it could take, giving every shot in the playbook to get hired, to do it. I was hungry. I needed this. I wanted this. This is my life. I know that music is in my blood and in my veins, and I know I have so much to offer clients, and I know I have so much to give in the process, and I can help anybody make a record. And I knew that. So fast forward from that, working at a studio, engineering with Tyga. I talked my way into getting that gig too. Kanye walked in and, unfortunately, he's a total dipshit these days. But at that time, this was a really, really big, meaningful opportunity. I thought, man, I got to capitalize on this opportunity. I'm in the engineer's chair. That means as the engineer, tracking engineer, like, dude, your mouth is shut. You don't give input. You stay there. You stay in the chair. And so when the artist is ready to record or play back anything, you're there for that. Kanye, he was leaving. He was about to head out of the session. I felt like I had missed my opportunity. So I was like, what the hell, man? Followed him out of the room, followed him all the way down the hall. I cornered him by the bathroom. He was going to use the bathroom and head out. I said, hey, man, I'm Jesse. I'd love to work for you if you need more engineers, right? And there was a moment of silence. He stopped. He looked at me, and I thought, man, I'm going to get punched or I'm going to get blacklisted. I'll never work again. What have I done? He said, okay, give me your number. And he flew me out to Chicago the next day. We started recording. We went out to Uganda. We recorded on the Nile River. We traveled all. It was incredible. You know, it changed my life. The trajectory from there. I came back here, and you know, the rest is kind of history from there. Moved into mixing, but these are all bold things that I did, and these aren't necessarily the recipes that you need to take in order to be bold and step out. Because you know, in a lot of ways, some of those things were inappropriate and you know could have gotten me in trouble, or maybe just won't yield the same results for somebody else. But what I challenge you guys to do is to take a look deep within, find your skill set, find out what your superpower is, and really what you bring to the table. And you want to find a way to just convince somebody else of that, you know? And it might be like you're trying to get hired for mixes in your local city. And you're like, but this local artist that I love is already working with so-and-so. Or, you know, that's usually the deal, right? And you want to work. So you want to find some of the artists that are maybe underneath or surrounding. Find adjacent artists, adjacent producers, and infiltrate. You know, you need to get the Zodiac killer map up, get a freaking whiteboard and have their freaking heads cut out and get the red string tied all over the place. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I was on the dating scene, it would be like, if you were interested in a gal, you would want to do a little side scene, like a little work with her friends, like run into her friends in the hallway and be like, hey, you know, and you charm them up too. So they're like, oh man, this dude's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool way to go about it. Same thing with the clients, man. If it's going to be all about this word of mouth, right? You need the clients' friends and the producer, you know, the other producers, other artists that they know. You need them to come to them and be like, yeah, dude, we worked with Carlos and it was freaking rad. Like, oh, dude, I love Carlos and he's always wearing those killer cargo pants. Oh, I know, dude. We call him Cargo Carlos. Dude is a machine with tuning vocals too, right? So this can be really tough if you're not extremely extroverted like me, right? Because it's easy to go out on the scene. It's easy for me to go out and have a beer and see a band and just talk to people, and I love it. And it's fun. There are times when it's not super easy, and sometimes it can feel really disingenuous to just walk up to somebody and just ask them for something, you know. And sometimes you got to plant the seed, and play it over time, right? You don't want to come in with the hard kill, like, man, hey, dude, I would love to have a shot, like mixing something for you, and like. It's kind of a hard sell, and it's kind of thirsty, and you know, a lot of the time it can be cooler, like just come out like, hey, you know, I dig what you guys are doing, man. I'd love to be involved, and you know, if there's any way I can help out and provide some value to what you guys are doing, I'd freaking dig it, man. Like, you know, the way that was presented is just like it's really genuine. It's just like it's laid back. There's no pressure. You're not punishing anybody and just like putting this weight on them, like, they're trying to progress their career. They're trying to leech onto me, and like, you know, it can be tough. And I got to say, 95% of the time, it's a losing battle to even do that. Like all of my favorite artists from Minneapolis, like I didn't get to work with them ever. Still, I would still love to work with After the Burial. Let's go. Hippocampus, come on. Corey Wong, my buddy, but he's so talented, he just mixes his own stuff or has some other guys do it, and that's cool. And there's part of this attitude of acceptance that not every client is going to be for you, right? Not every opportunity is going to be for you. So when you miss an opportunity or you just flat out just don't get it, just don't be discouraged, because there are so many more that are going to come along. All right, but I want to challenge you guys to just search inside. You know, try to remember that maybe what seems like a curse might actually end up being your superpower. Maybe you're like criminally introverted, like my wife, like has a very difficult time. It's you know, she's able to do it. She can turn it on. She almost is like an actress in that sense. She'll like, and she's expressed to me like that's a great exercise. Some musicians do this too. They have to put on a persona, and when they step on stage, they act. And yeah, they're having fun up there. They're having a good time. They're happy to be there. But they also have to like, they have to put it on, right? And that's not a foreign concept. A lot of people, you know, when you're going to a meeting or maybe you're going to be on camera, you have to kind of put it on. And, you know, like today, I'm putting it on a little bit, to be honest. I had kind of a, I had a tough day. There was a long line at UPS and, you know, just put it on. Practice putting it on. Put it on, baby. Put on the smile. And I think if you're giving somebody a genuine look, you're passing them a smile, even just practicing passing smiles around is just, it's just good for the world. It's good for everybody. It's good for the recipient. It's good for the giver of the smile. Give some smiles, y'all. It'll help. Oh, okay, here's one. You live in the middle of nowhere and there's no way to network with anybody because you are in freaking Anchorage, Alaska, which actually has a dope little local music scene, I have heard. But let's say you're outside of Anchorage. You're maybe, I'm pretending I know. Well, what a like a nice little suburb outside of Anchorage is. But then you get on the internet and you start finding ways to brand, market yourself. Gerhard Westphalen, great example. He was living deep up in Alberta, Canada. And he has completely infiltrated the Los Angeles market of studio people because he's designing studios for everybody and he's mastering for everybody. You know, he masters everything that I do and just a ton of other great stuff. And he's amazing. And he did it all online via Instagram, just reaching out to people, starting a dialogue. And it wasn't a hard sell mastering or anything like that. He just reached out to me on like a friendship level. He found common ground in the fact that we're both super into hi-fi gear, speakers, passive speakers, amplifiers, converters, cables, really expensive power cables, which I'm not so much on that anymore, but he gets into all that stuff still. But we just started a friendship just talking about that stuff. And that's literally, there was nothing to gain for him or me. We were just bonding. Boom. The secret sauce right there. Bonding, human relationships, connections. Check out the book, How to Win Friends and Influence Others, because it goes over basically what to do and how to treat people in a way that's going to be so infectiously cool for them that they're just going to want to spend more time with you. And as you start to practice these principles, you get into a place where you're not doing it for the result of what you'll get back. You're doing it just out of the way it makes you feel, to treat people a certain way because it feels so good, right? So then later on after Gerhard, you know, we connected like that. You know, after a while, he just went out and he just freaking asked for what he wanted. He said, dude, why don't you use me for mastering? You know that I'm mastering. Why aren't you using me for mastering? Why haven't you ever used me? And I was like, shit, man. Good question. That's great. That's a myth. I don't know. Let's try you for mastering. And I tried him and it worked and it was great and the rest was history. And we have this very, very tight working relationship now. Don't ask, don't get. So sometimes you just got to ask for what you want, you guys. Make a splash. Stand out above the crowd, even if you got to shout it out loud, baby. Thanks, guys. Cheers. We'll see you next time, man. Peace.